Hello and welcome back to livealittlehigher.com. Today we continue with the learning on the book of Rabbi Isaac Ginsburg, The Mystery of Marriage, and we are on chapter 12 where we're talking about the cycle of marital intimacy, and it's talking about the menstrual cycle of the woman and the mitzvah of Tahara HaMishpaha, which is family purity. And if you look at the class that I gave, the last class before the holidays, it explains a little bit about what Tahara HaMishpaha means. And but today we're talking about the three different cycles that are in the month of the woman. So one is days of seeing, the other one is days of cleanliness, and then we have the days of purity. And each one of these cycles is divided also in three in each one of them. So one is submission, the other one is separation, and the other one is sweetening. And and what it's telling us here is that when a woman has her menstruation, she becomes too self-centered, like she's too much self-conscious of her situation. Like if you're a woman and you're listening to this class, you know what I'm talking about. But the period is not a comfortable thing, and it's usually we have cramps and we're bloated and we don't feel so good, and some women get depressed, and some people get over sensitive, hormonal. So you know what I'm talking about. And these feelings of being over self-conscious really makes a person impure. Why? Because for Hashem to be able to enter into a person's life, we need to be not so self-centered. We need to have space for Hashem. When we're too full of ourselves, there's no space for God. And at this moment, when a woman is in this moment, she's too self-conscious about herself, then she won't be able to have a space for Hashem. And by not having this, then she's considered impure. Because to be sacred is because you have the presence of God with you. And then here what it tells us is that the days of seeing are the period of time during which a woman experiences her menstrual flow. And it's called the days of seeing because it's the days in which she's aware of what's happening to her. Her and her husband, they have to be together in this. And at that moment when she realizes she gets her menstrual period, she has to separate herself from her husband, and they cannot have any physical contact. They can speak, they can eat together, they can go walking together, but they cannot touch each other. And this makes a couple feel submissive towards Hashem. It gives submission, it gives humbleness, because you're not doing it because of you, you're doing it because of God. So when you're taking this step, what you're doing really is you're opening a space for God in your relationship with Him. And in that way, the woman and the husband have a relationship with God. He's part of the relationship. So they are not completely separated from God. Also, when they come to this level of separation, they both yearn for their connection with Hashem. They realize how far away they are from God. And in a spiritual level, the relationship between the husband and the wife is compared to the relationship between Hashem and the Jewish people. So it's a parallel relationship. So the days of cleanliness, always number 7, immediately follow the days of seeing. So a woman, once she gets her menstrual cycle, she has to count minimum 5 days of the cycle until she's clean to start checking herself for 7 days until she can come to the mikvah. So some women have their period for 5 days, 3 days, 8 days. Some people have it more. But what the law is, the halacha is that at least she has to count 5 unclean days of period. Even if she doesn't have it anymore, but she has to start counting from number 5, at least. And then from there on, she has to check herself every day, morning and evening, for 7 days. In total is 15 checks, because she has to start checking herself before nightfall of the day that she sees that she's clean. And from then on, she checks herself twice a day until the day she goes to the mikvah, which is 7 days later. Also, 7 represents the 7 emotional attributes that we have. And so by doing this, we are rectifying these 7 emotional attributes, one every day. On a parenthesis level, I want to point out that really Hashem is, the Torah is our horoscope. We live with the times. And this Hashgacha Pratis is really divine intervention that I'm giving this class this week, because we're seeing Parashat Noah also this week. And we see from Parashat Noah that the flood, the Mabul, really was a mikvah. Hashem immersed the world in a mikvah because for 40 days and 40 nights, because the world was so degenerate, was so impure, that the only way to be able to purify the world was through immersing it into a mikvah. And in that way, after the Mabul, a new world could come out, a pure and holy world. So, going back to our class, these 7 days are representative of the 7 midot, and we count them, and by the 7th day that we count that we're clean, then the woman is allowed to go to the mikvah. Also, these 7 days are connected to separation, and it's a time to examine our behavior and to turn from evil and anticipate the reuniting with Hashem. So it's 7 days in which we are retrospective, we're looking at ourselves, we have more time to learn, we have more time to see where we're going, what we're doing, what type of a person I want to be. So it's 7 very productive days. And as I said in the last class, really the relationship between a husband and a wife is built in these 7 days. It's the void. Whatever is lacking there, that what do you fill it with? What you fill it with, that's what your relationship is all about. So following the woman's immersion in the mikvah, which is a ritual pool, at the end of the 7 clean days, the days of purity begin, and the husband and the wife are then permitted to be together again, physically intimate, and until the reappearance of her menstrual cycle the next month. These 3 periods of the physical menstrual cycle parallel the 3 stages of divine service mentioned above, and the days of sin correspond to submission. So when we realize we have our period, we become submissive. And then it reminds us of an existential distance of the soul from God, and how imprisoned as it is impure. And it's a moment to rectify our body with humility. And they know, however, even in the depth of the estrangement that is only temporary, being distant from one's beloved gives rise to an immense longing to draw closer to him. So when we're far away, it gives us a feeling that we want to be together. And that's the beauty of it, because a couple can be married for 30, 40 years, and if every month they're being separated for 7 days, for 15 days, that creates a yearning to be together with your spouse. In the same way, in a spiritual way, it creates a yearning to be together with Hashem. So the days of cleanliness correspond to the spiritual work of separation, and each day during these days of that we're checking ourselves spiritually, this process teaches the couple to examine whether or not they have properly separated themselves from thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that may make them distant from God. And as it says in the verse, turn away from evil and do good. This level of divine service corresponds to the fulfillment of turn from evil. So when we're separated from our husbands, we're really turning away from evil. And when we go back and we immerse in the mikvah, then we're doing good. And on a deeper level, the daily check-in serves to enhance the woman's mounting anticipation of future union with her husband. So it's half a month the woman is yearning for her husband. And this is a healthy relationship, because with our husbands or with Hashem, we should always be yearning to be connected. When we're not yearning, that there's something wrong. We have to check what's going on here. When you don't want to be close to something, You have to see why, and then work on that. So this hopefulness and expectation for the future balances her meticulous concern over the possibility of residual blemish or impurity. So what it means is that it also creates yiras shamayim. It creates fear of heaven, awe of God, and respect of God. And that's a very good quality to have when a woman is really very conscious about her cycle and she's checking and she's very careful. That shows that she's a God-fearing woman. And this is very important to be. So finally, the woman immerses herself in the mikvah, and so begins the days of purity, or the black days, because when a woman has her period, she should be wearing white undergarments. When she's clean, she should be wearing dark undergarments. So the service of sweetening, it becomes the service of sweetening because it should bring joy to be able to consummate your love with your husband. And also, it's very important that at this time, the couple has good thoughts in their head. The husband especially should have holy thoughts, because if you're creating life, the husband is the one that brings to the child the garments of the soul of thought, speech, and action, and it depends on the thoughts that the husband has during the time of conception. So the couple learns from this to experience the unmitigated joy of union with God afforded by performing these mitzvot. So it should bring a lot of joy to know that you have a relationship not only with your husband, but you also have a relationship with Hashem. So I wish you a good week, a happy week, a holy week, and live a little higher. Thank you.